The evidential bar and the decision-making process for these fixed penalty notices, and it's often in the gift of quite junior officials.
Yeah, I mean, it will be potentially someone of a rank of inspector or below that is making a decision on the fixed penalty notice, but there's no way, given just how politically charged this whole issue is, that they are not going to have oversight right from the very top in terms of actually who makes that final decision. And it may be that it's down to the Chief Constable rather than the investigating officer, who at least signs off on a recommendation from that investigating officer. But I think, like you, Colin, my heart sank when I saw this line coming through from Scotland Yard this morning. We've still some way to go on this because we have a dozen events that are being investigated by the Metropolitan Police. We got a first tranche of about 20 fixed penalty notices. Then on April the 12th, another 30. Now, this latest batch of 50, they've been actually sending these fixed penalty notices out, but not publicising the fact they've done that because of the local elections. So that's why it's such a high number at the moment. But I think there's obviously still some more to go, because it's improbable, isn't it, that the Prime Minister won't be facing more in the way of fixed penalty notices. I
tell you what, Mark, your heart might sink too if you're maybe trying to get a burglary investigated or theft of your car, and you look at this investigation into what some people feel is relatively inconsequential in terms of crime fighting. May have constitutional and political implications, obviously. But if you're trying to get a crime investigated and you're looking at the level of police resources, you know better than me what they are. How many officers involved in this, do you think?
Dozens of officers will be involved in investigating this over the totality of the weeks and months that this is now spanning. You're absolutely right. I mean, the police want to channel their resources elsewhere. That's why the former Commissioner, Cressida Dick, made it very clear. She said, we don't do retrospective fixed penalty notices. We don't start getting involved in that. She was bounced into that by effectively a Labour mayor and the Labour Party, lots of politicians, senior politicians, who wanted that investigation.
On Labour politicians, we'll be turning to Khalid Mahmood, Labour MP, in just a second, and I can guess part of what he's likely to say about this. Before we do that, Harry Mount's our studio guest for the next couple of hours. Harry, welcome to you. We'll see how your debut goes.
Yeah. Prepared to be sacked.
I mean, I introduced that note of scepticism in my introduction there. We've covered this story at length over months, and we always get an avalanche of emails saying, actually here in Bradford, in Barnstable, in Bridgend, in the Scottish borders, wherever you are, we don't give a toss about this story.
Yeah. Well, I think there are two sections of people, aren't there? Those who lost family members, quite rightly, are going to be angry with Boris forever. But I think the country at large are now fatigued by it. And my hunch is, I used to work with Boris for 5 years at the Daily Telegraph, where we called him the greased albino piglet, because he was like a creature at the Mississippi State Fair, win $50 if you catch him. And you never catch him. He always gets away. My hunch is, unless he's completely destroyed in Sue Gray's full report, is that he'll get away with it again.
How much does it matter that Keir Starmer's facing his own investigation?
Well, I think, both of you would understand the ins and outs of the two separate investigations more than most of us. But to the country at large, they'll look at it as basically as one all, won't they?
Yeah.
So I don't think they'll really distinguish between the two of them.